Hello, and welcome to the Joy of Cooking podcast. Each week, we set the table for a discussion about recipes and stories from the authors of The Joy of Cooking, Kitchen Victories, and Misadventures, and most importantly, what we are cooking and eating right now. We're glad you've joined us at the table today. I'm Shannon Larson, home cook, ardent Joy of Cooking user and fan, and Kiwi enthusiast.
I'm Megan Scott, co-author of the 2019 Joy of Cooking. I'm a food editor by day and avoider of dish duty by night, but I make a mean pot of beans.
I'm John Becker, fourth-generation co-author and steward of The Joy of Cooking, America's oldest family-run cookbook. I enjoy cheesy potatoes and long walks on the beach.
That's a good
the best one yet.
Welcome back, everybody. We had a break last week, which was kind of nice to have like the whole weekend with no plans, but I'm glad to see your faces.
I know, it was kind of weird not seeing you.
Yeah.
I've gotten used to it.
I know. Well, what were you up to this week? Did you cook anything fun or eat anything really delicious that you want to talk about?
Well, speaking of beans, we definitely made rice and beans,
Awesome.
which is like a favorite of ours, with Scratch Meats chicken chorizo sausage.
I haven't had it.
Oh, it's so good. It's actually spicy. And sometimes you're just like, sometimes chorizo, it needs to be a little spicy, in my opinion. But I was traveling for work a little bit, so I ended up having to eat out a lot, which is not my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah. Like it's
like
kind of nice at first.
Yeah, like
But
the first
then
meal.
it wears off really quickly.
Yeah. And it was to Bend, so it was like brewery or brewery.
Yeah.
Or brewery.
Yeah.
So Bend is also amazing, but
Yeah. No,
What
I know
about
how
you?
it goes. Well, I mean, since we're having our first atmospheric river in the Pacific Northwest, we've been eating a lot of wet foods as well. So I know, it sounds so gross. We made soup. I think we ate soup for 3 meals in a row.
Yeah, it's, another way of saying that would be it's soup season.
It's just soup. I'm talking about soup. That's all. But John was like, the last 3 meals we've eaten have been liquids. And I was like, I feel so hydrated. It's so nice. But yeah, we made asopao de pollo, which is a Puerto Rican chicken and rice soup. That's like one of our absolute favorite things to make during the winter because it's super cozy and it's really hearty and it actually has like green olives in it and peas and chicken and what else? I'm missing stuff.
Some minato, achiote. It's very good. Yeah, what else is in there? We're usually starting off with skin on, bone in chicken, and so we'll take the skin off and then crisp it up in the oven as the chicken and rice are cooking. So you have a nice little crispy topping.
Yeah, those crispy chicken skins are
the
one of my
best.
favorite things in the world. I had a hot take this week, which is that I think I like them better than bacon. Like when they're super just like shatteringly crisp. I would rather eat that than a slice of bacon.
I don't think John agrees with you.
Yeah, I can't go there.
Well, that's what a hot take is. Everyone disagrees with you.
We cooked up some white beans with some andouille sausage.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
The Cajun holy trinity of green bell pepper, onion, and garlic. And yeah, this andouille that I've been
Special ordering from
it's-
Louisiana,
yeah.
really? Yeah.
I've been ordering this andouille from a smokehouse called Wayne Jacobs. It's fantastic. Wayne Jacobs does a really good job. But yeah, a real andouille, it's just like big chunks of meat in there. It's not like your typical sausage. And there's like a lot of marjoram, and it is actually spicy.
It's
But
really good.
Very
Yeah.
good. But that with crispy potatoes and salad. It was really good.
And then we made gamjatang, which
What is
is
that?
another favorite. It's a Korean stew that has, usually it's made with like pork neck, I believe. But we usually use like ribs or country style ribs, whatever we have. And it has potatoes and daikon radish.
Yum.
Like big chunks.
Yeah, big chunks. And then doenjang. So it's like fermented soybean paste. It's just delicious. It's so like comforting and warming.
That sounds amazing.
But yeah, we'll make that a lot this winter.
I definitely bust out my Korean American cookbook a lot during this time too, just for
Yeah.
kimchi stews and all of that yummy fermented goodness.
Such a good book.
Yeah, I love that book.
We would like to welcome Carissa Mylin to this week's episode. Thanks for joining us, Carissa.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Carissa is a longtime friend of all three of us and also just an awesome home cook and home gardener. So we're thrilled to have you on the show. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, like what you do for a living?
Sure. Thanks for calling me an awesome home cook and gardener. Because as you know, when you guys come over, I immediately get self-conscious about my cooking. And I'm like, will you look at this? Will you smell it? Will you taste it? Did I cook it all the way through? I get really nervous because your cooking is significantly better than mine. Just because I think you're a little more practiced. I grew up in Portland. I work for an architecture firm. I'm a commercial interior designer. So I spend my day designing experiences for people and my time at home designing experiences for my cats.
And you have a new cat.
I do. I have a new little kitty.
That's so exciting.
Yep. When John was talking about eating wet food this week, I was like, wow, yeah, we've had a lot of wet food in the house this week.
Oh, God. Gross. Do you like do anything special? I feel like I'm a little bit getting into crazy cat lady territory because of the things I do for my cats.
Oh, yeah.
Like I have started heating up Lola's food in the microwave. It smells so bad. It's the worst
But
thing
it's
ever.
only for like
But
10 seconds.
It's only for 10 seconds, but
So
she
take the
loves it heated up. And so I just do it now. And it's just like a normal thing I do. But whenever we have people over, I'm like, this is a really weird, I'm doing something really weird.
The worst thing that I do is I feel first thing in the morning, you know, like you try to run the kitchen faucet to get hot water out and it takes forever. So instead of doing that, I use my espresso machine to run hot water to put in the food. That's about it.
Okay.
It's as crazy as
That's
it
a good
gets.
hack. That's just a good hack.
Good hack. Try to save water.
So one of our goals for the show was to have just normal home cooks on as guests occasionally, because I feel like we'll get a little bit of a different perspective and just talk about things that normal people are concerned with or interested in or happy about. And so I'm really stoked to have you on because you're just
I'm just about as normal as it comes.
you're well.
That's
I don't know if I'd say that. But could you tell us a little bit about your, like, what is your cooking style? Are you a follow the recipe to a T person, or do you just like throw stuff in a pan and see if it works?
Yeah, I'm definitely not a follow the recipe to a T person. I'm a single person, so everything you've ever purchased or tried to cook is intended for more than one person.
Yeah.
So, and I don't, you know, if you have to buy those ingredients, it's never enough to make for one or two people. It's enough for like a family. And so you kind of have to like take it and wing it and toss things in or out that you might want to use or might not. Today, for example, I made your beets, the golden beets. And I was like, you're right. My kitchen doesn't have great ventilation. I'm going to use my weird little jarred balsamic glaze. And so I just swung it. I didn't even put pistachios or anything in it. It was just the goat cheese and glaze, and it was fantastic. But
Nice.
one of the things I do like about the Joy is that I do feel really comfortable being like really liberal with how I use the recipes. And so it's like a good starting point and like kind of a roadmap, but knowing that you can kind of take detours in between and
Yeah,
use other things and whatever you have, right? It's like feel
Yeah.
comfortable using whatever you have.
exactly. I think that's our goal for everyone using the Joy of Cooking, is that they can feel empowered to go off script and not have to just follow the recipe verbatim every single time.
Not necessarily have to gas themselves out of their kitchen by making a balsamic glaze.
Yeah.
If it came to this is why I don't bake, girl. Like I do not bake because baking is science and you have to follow that exactly. And I cannot do that. Like I barely use any kind of measuring utensils at any point. I'm like a sprinkle and a whiff kind of person. So cooking, yes. Freestyle. Baking, absolutely not. I will cook you a brick.
Well, luckily, there's lots of awesome bakeries around town.
Yeah,
so,
you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Other people will do that.
Knowing when to outsource, definitely it's its own skill.
Yes.
Yeah. What is the best thing you cooked this week?
Oh. On Tuesday night, I made a delicata squash galette. And my friends came over from work and they were like, girl, when did you have time to make this buttery, flaky crust? And I was like, I didn't. I made it with my money. I didn't. I literally like welded the two puff pastries together and then rolled them out flat. It was the ugliest thing I ever made. But because it was like sheet pan size, it slid nicely onto the the serving platter. But I did like caramelized onions, roasted delicata. I had a little honey goat cheese, which is what I had left over for the beets. And then I sprinkled some dried sage on that I actually dried myself this summer, which I feel really proud about. And then at the last minute, I decided to drizzle a little honey over the top.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Fantastic. I feel like the next time I make that, I'm probably going to put some sopressata on it
Ooh, I
to
like that.
add a little protein element. But my realization from that was that puff pastry is kind of like fried food. It makes everything taste a lot better.
100%. It's true.
Well, I'm going to make that very soon. That sounds like something that we would both really enjoy.
We need to take
And I need more
advantage of puff
ideas.
pastry more.
Yeah, puff pastry. And then like ideas for winter squash.
Yeah.
I always run out by the end of winter and I'm just like, I can't eat another delicata squash, but I'm still loving them right now. So
Yeah, same. I bought 3 today, big ones.
Whoa.
Yeah.
They're the
My
best.
mom asked if I would make it for like our post-Thanksgiving thing, that same puff pastry thing. I was like, I got you.
Awesome. So we're going to do our tasting segment now. And today we're going to be trying a couple things from Yunhai, which is a really awesome online marketplace that sells Taiwanese and Chinese specialty ingredients. And we've been using their white sesame oil for, I don't know, like at least a year probably. It's really delicious. It's like it's the best sesame oil I've ever had. And we also get like, they have a few vinegars that we stock regularly, and kind of thinking about getting one of their awesome, they have like these countertop steamers that I'm very intrigued by. We're going to taste the white sesame oil, and I'm actually going to make, on air, I'm going to make this cabbage salad that we eat all the time because it takes like 5 minutes to make. And I'm making it in a Ziploc bag. We don't normally make it in a Ziploc bag at home because it's kind of wasteful, but since we're sitting at a table right now, it's just easier. So I've got, the cabbage is not really shredded. It's cut into like 1-inch chunks or 1-inch pieces. And I'm going to grate part of a clove of garlic in there on my miniature microplane.
This is
cutest
the
microplane.
cutest. I can't believe you brought that over, knowing full well that
Yeah,
there was
I feel
probably
like
one here.
that miniature microplane was swag of some kind. I
like-
mean,
Yeah.
it looks like it's supposed to go on a keychain.
I was to say, it's like if you're like a chef and a backpacker.
I'm not going to use the full garlic clove because it's not that much cabbage. And then I'm going to add just maybe like a teaspoon and a half of chicken bouillon powder. It's the Knorr brand. And then I will add a generous, probably tablespoon of this white sesame oil.
I opened it up before we started recording, and my mouth started I started salivating when I smelled it. It smells so good.
So good. And you should smell it sometime beside like your regular grocery store sesame oil. The difference is like there's a big difference. The quality is really high. Oh my God.
Oh,
I just dumped like all of my sesame seeds. It's fine. All the sesame seeds went into this salad, but it will be really
it's
good.
gonna have like a special crunch to it.
It's gonna be delicious. I don't normally put that many sesame seeds in. I normally put
No,
like
you don't dump
a
tablespoon
tablespoon.
container.
You know,
I thought I had opened the little.
they really shouldn't fool you with the dotted side and the whole side. They should just give you one option.
You know, we're gonna try this, and we're never gonna make it another way
Yeah,
again.
it's gonna be
Never
amazing.
going back.
It's gonna be so good. And I'm just like kneading it in the bag to get all the seasonings dispersed.
I really
Okay.
thought to myself, I was like, she's going for it.
Okay, I think we're ready. It might need a little salt, but I'm hoping the chicken bouillon powder will be enough. Okay, who wants to try? There's like sesame seeds going everywhere.
We need a fork.
Is this a hand situation or a
Yeah,
fork?
I mean, you
Several
could grab like, I'm just gonna grab.
I'll do it.
Or not.
I'll do it.
Fine.
Come on, John. Peer pressure.
It needs a little
Oh
salt,
my God.
but it's really, the flavor is good.
Honestly, I'm like really into that deep sesame flavor. Oh my God.
Yeah, I kind of love all the sesame seeds on it.
But that's the
Good
oil.
mistake.
That's the oil, though. And the bouillon like perfectly balances out. It's like the balanced partner to the sesame oil.
It gives it this really nice savory flavor.
That's so good
Okay, I'm taking one more.
and so easy.
We make this all the time.
Would it be good to like make ahead of time for like a potluck or something? Or do you think the cabbage would get too soft?
I would not make it ahead of time. I think it might wilt and like some water might come out.
Okay.
But it's so easy to make. You could just bring all the ingredients and throw it together in like 3 minutes.
But even if you put the cabbage and all the dry stuff, you could toss the oil at the last minute.
Yeah. And you can also like, if you don't want to use the chicken bouillon powder, you can also like, I would just use like MSG because you do want that like savoriness, and probably like some regular salt too.
Or if you could also grind up that the instant dashi powder.
Yeah, that would be really good too.
I mean, usually kind of comes in granules, so you might have to break it up a little bit more.
Yeah, but that's like one of our favorite easy weeknight salads.
I love it. That sesame oil is so good.
Incredible.
So good. Okay, now we're gonna try the dried green mango from Yunhai. I'm really excited. I haven't had this.
The packaging is really pretty.
I imagine it's going to have a really nice tart flavor like amchur, but I don't know that.
It's really good. I mean, it's like mango, but more sour.
And what would you use this for? Thoughts?
I'd probably just eat it. It's really good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm like,
It's like an adult gummy candy.
it is.
I'm like laying in bed.
Yeah.
That's how I would eat it.
Like a healthy Sour Patch Kid.
Yeah. That's so good. Yeah, what does it say? Green mangoes are the babies of the family, harvested early when the fruit is small, crisp, and sour. They're served many ways in Taiwan, pickled in salt and sugar or served frozen in syrup, a proto-granita. The dried form is addictively tart and chewy. Think of it as nature's sour gummy.
There you go.
I agree. Yeah.
It's the lamb of mangoes.
Oh, man.
John's just over here shaking his head.
Yeah, it's mango veal. Yes. Please cut that.
You can't cut everything you say.
Just cut myself today.
Okay, and this is the dried golden diamond pineapple, a variety unique to Taiwan, famous for their flavor, but also their soft edible cores. Oh, that's cool.
Me too.
Your soft edible core.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. I'm getting all 10 pieces in one here.
Oh, that's really good.
Is it? I'm excited for this one. I love pineapple so
It's
much.
really floral. Yeah, the core is super tender.
And it's nice there's not like a bunch of sugar added. Like it's just a really classic dried pineapple flavor without being super sugary.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Yunhai, for sending us these awesome things to taste. I'm really stoked to have another bottle of the white sesame oil because we really blow through it.
We want to thank our sponsor for supporting the Joy of Cooking podcast and for helping us deepen our connection to home cooks everywhere. Let's hear a word from our sponsor, Yunhai. Yunhai offers a selection of premium ingredients for Taiwanese and Chinese cooking, sourced directly from artisan farmers and soy sauce breweries in Taiwan. Visit Yunhai Taiwanese Pantry at yunhai.shop.com and use coupon code Joy of Cooking, all caps, for 10% off orders through December 25th.
Okay, Carissa, how did you first learn about the joy of cooking? Did you grow up with it?
I did. I grew up in a vegetarian household, and my mom is a good cook, but I think she probably didn't grow up around great cooking, and so she kind of relied on cookbooks, and I'm pretty sure the only two cookbooks we had were The Joy of Cooking and the Moosewood cookbook, because that was a vegetarian cookbook. I grew up in Nashville, similar to you. And I, as a kid, I hated vegetables, which is a really unfortunate
Being a family of vegetarians.
it's a really unfortunate thing, which is ironic because now I love them. But my earliest memory of Joy of Cooking is when my mom would make buttermilk biscuits. That was like, it was going down, and we're making buttermilk biscuits, and the whole house smelled good, and we used like the little cutout thingy, and it was really, that was like a big night in my house as a kid.
Would she serve them with anything particular, or was it just like she was in the mood to make biscuits?
It was probably a soup situation, so it was like probably a minestrone soup, of course, vegetable based, but there was noodles in it, so I was into it.
That helps.
Yeah, I was like a carb kid. Still am.
We all are.
Yeah, double carb meals are the best meals. Little biscuit, little noodle.
So I want to talk a little bit about your garden because you're a really amazing gardener and your garden is beautiful.
Thank you.
Do you plant veggies based on what you like to eat or what you enjoy growing?
I would say a little bit of both. My first year, I completely lost it and just planted everything I could possibly stuff into the ground. And then I was like, why do I have so many cucumbers that I'm never going to eat? And you really helped me with that. You were like, Carissa, you could make that like the cheap sushi where you scrape the seeds out of the middle and make like a little tuna and kewpie and sriracha and stuff it like a boat. And it's like, that's how you can eat a whole cucumber, which I know that's very, it's like a trending thing right now. It's like, what do you do if you have a whole cucumber? This year I planted pickling cucumbers and I still had way too many cucumbers. And I kind of feel like all the things that I want to grow more of, I have the hardest time growing.
Yeah.
Like
That's usually how it
zucchinis.
goes.
Like, why?
I also cannot grow a zucchini.
can't
It's
do
so
it.
weird because everyone's like, oh, I have a million zucchinis.
Mine always
And
get rotten. I don't know what I do wrong.
I always get the powdery mildew.
Yeah, I have a skunk that just takes nibbles out of mine. It's fine. But yeah, every year I try to experiment. I just did plant my garlic. And so that bed gets vacated last in the summer. And so it's like, it kind of gets a lot of shade in general. And so I'm always like, what kind of like weird, random experimental things am I going to stick in here? So like you guys know, I planted ground nuts in that bed,
Yeah.
which was a weird thing.
So cool.
I also at the last minute planted okra just for funsies. It was the most beautiful thing in my garden this year. I got exactly 5 okra spears. They were delicious, but you know, next year I'm like more.
That really speaks to our zone. I mean, I feel like okra is just prolific if you were to grow it in the South. It's just,
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I planted it in like August.
Okay.
Oh.
So
Well, that's pretty
Never
good
mind.
I
then.
know it was like a 3-foot tall, stunning, beautiful flowers. Like
they're
worth it
so
just for the
pretty.
visuals.
Yeah. I want to try growing okra next year. I want to put some of those galvanized metal tanks on the side of our driveway because I'm thinking they'll get a bunch of heat and sun, like afternoon sun, and I think the okra will really do well
Call
in
me.
that.
I'm a good soil schlepper.
Oh, nice.
I can shovel for hours. I got you.
I think one of the things I've loved so much about seeing you really get into gardening is that even when you don't get a great harvest, like you don't give up, you just take it as like a way to learn. And I think that's a big part about being a gardener in general is just like sometimes it's just not going to work out, but you're just learning along the way and then you try again next year. Or you don't because you didn't have a great time growing it. I don't know.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. It's been fun. Like again, I grew up in a gardening family and I'm not really sure I appreciated the labor that is until it's your own and you really can't. It's like tough to take a day off sometimes when you're like, yeah, all of these are relying on me. And if you miss a day of watering when it needs to happen, it's like, ooh, you're going to pay for that for a couple of weeks and like maybe they'll recover, maybe they won't. But yeah, having that kind of connection to the food, even Lord knows I'm paying way more on water bills than I am in paying for fresh vegetables. I would if I just bought them whole. Having that kind of connection to my food has been really rewarding.
Yeah. Yeah. I just love my little backyard garden, even though I'm sure it's costing. Like, I think my tomatoes are probably the most expensive tomatoes on planet Earth. It's not very efficient, but it's so nice when you finally get like that beautiful, ripe heirloom tomato and it just fills both of your hands because it's so big and ridiculous. And
Any day now.
you get to eat any day now.
I have prolific amounts of cherry tomatoes still. I have a pile of green ones on the counter. What are we doing with them, you guys?
Oh, the green ones?
What are we going to do?
You guys have a
I mean,
recipe?
yeah, you could definitely turn them into Chow Chow or
Green tomato chow chow. It's in the book, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's really good.
You could try fermenting them, like fermenting them whole.
We did that once. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
And what did you do with them like afterward? Like how would you use
I
them?
feel like we just ate them like pickle. Like we kind of just served them, put them on the table when we were eating and just
Gotcha.
ate them. I think we did some bigger ones too, like not just cherries. we
Yeah,
did,
they
like,
were big.
bigger tomatoes, like kind of Russian style fermented whole tomatoes.
You have to have like the burping lid on it with the fermentation, or can you just put a little cheesecloth over the top and
Yeah,
call it?
I think you can do that as long as they stay submerged, because then that way they won't get mold on top.
Yeah,
But yeah.
That's what I did with my red pimiento peppers. Mm-hmm. I made a crazy hot sauce with them, and I was like, well, I have a couple of ghost peppers. I should throw those in there too. Wow. Really took it to the atomic level, which I'm good with. I love hot sauce, so like, I love hot sauce.
The fermenting lids are nice to have. I will say that.
Yeah, we do have some of the mason jar lids they're plastic lids, but they have a little hole in the middle with a gasket.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
you put the airlock on it, and they're just nice. It's just very easy and nice to have, but you don't need it.
Yeah, you could just let the hiss out every now and then. Hopefully you remember.
That's the hard part. It's like these like little micro gardening, like micro cooking tasks. It's like, man, trying to fold that into your day can
know.
be really challenging.
What music do you listen to while you're cooking?
Oh my god. So as I mentioned before, I live alone. I bought my house in 2021, and it's a small house. I went from living in a much bigger house in a community to a really small house by myself. And I was like, wow, I'm feeling really lonely.
Yeah.
And so, like a creep, I got an iPad and I mounted it to the wall in my kitchen. And I started YouTube streaming, not myself, like watching YouTube videos of other people cooking,
Oh, that's fun.
just like Molly Baz and Claire Saffitz and some of these like Bon Appetit folks who have their own YouTube channels. Those YouTube channels stemmed from during the pandemic when people couldn't host in the studio and were just cooking alone in their kitchens. And so like listening to people talk about cooking alone in their kitchen kind of made me feel a little bit less alone cooking in my kitchen. So like that's kind of where it started. But like I do listen to some music too. Like if we're being honest, I listen to drum and bass music, which is in no way aligned with the aesthetic of Joy of Cooking or this podcast in any.
Well, you don't know that.
Yeah. Be surprised.
I feel like if you guys were listening to drum and bass and cooking, some crazy things might happen. But yeah, that's kind of where it all started. And so like I like to listen to people talk while I'm cooking because it kind of makes me feel like I'm doing it with other people, which I enjoy doing. And then it makes me feel a little bit less alone.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a really good strategy. I like to listen to loud music and dance when no one else is in the kitchen.
I feel like we don't listen to podcasts or news broadcasts or anything when we're cooking, but I do have like childhood memories of just, all things considered and my mom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that meant dinner was on its way.
My mom listened to Kenny G. A lot.
Same.
See, my mom would save Kenny G for after,
Oh, I see.
kind of, digesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that smooth jazz.
I remember my mom would always like turn on Janis Joplin around the house, so like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and sometimes I do turn that on just for fun.
Yeah, your mom was cooler.
Yeah, she's pretty cool.
I do not turn on Kenny G, I have to say.
Sorry, Megan.
Sorry, Kenny G. Yeah, sorry, Mom.
I played the saxophone, so
Oh,
I thought
yeah,
Kenny
that's
G was pretty
right.
cool.
I mean, he's up there among the cool saxophone players for sure. That's that hair. The hair is amazing.
I now that I'm thinking about it, I think Kenny G's hair is better than mine, and that makes me feel a little self-conscious.
A little insecure. Do you have any good strategies for cooking for one?
I do. I am not. My grandma was like a very zero waste person, and I consequently am also a very zero waste person. And so I try to plan ahead, like what are the things I'm going to have to buy a lot of, and then try to space them out throughout the week so you can incorporate them in other meals. And if I know I'm not going to finish something, I also have a vacuum sealer. So sometimes I will cook all of it and then vacuum seal little packets of it, whether it's cooked completely or it's like in an individual ingredient that I know I can pop out later. I also freeze a lot of things that I know I'm not going to get through just so I don't waste things. And then I just keep like a little list on a whiteboard on the side of the fridge in case I'm like, oh, I have like a little chunk of like pasta that I didn't finish or something, just so I don't ever end up wasting anything. And that really helps me, especially if I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to cook this week. There's probably like 4 things in the freezer I could thaw and throw together with like a little ginger and some like frozen chanterelles and turn it into something super amazing with like no effort at all.
Yeah, I love freezing like small portions of things that you're not going to use.
I feel like having that. I swear to God, we've talked about having like a little list of things that are in the freezer for so long, and it just never happens.
You better do it. I'm going to follow up in the next episode and ask if it's been done.
I also, this is going to sound really insane, maybe not to Shannon. I keep a roll of tape, like masking tape, and a Sharpie in my silverware drawer. And every time I pop something in the refrigerator or the freezer, I put a piece of tape on it that says what's in it. And it's so helpful from a quick glance. Just open up the fridge and be like, oh yeah, goat cheese. I have some roasted fennel in here. Like you can very quickly see what it is, and you don't have to like trigger your brain to be like, what am I going to use today? Like beans, cooked beans. They're in there, and you can see it right away. It actually just helps a lot with not wasting things or forgetting things that are like randomly in the back of the fridge.
I do have a container of something in my freezer, and I have no idea what it is.
Oh, no.
I have no idea. But one day, John and I are going to pull it out and find out. I don't
I
know.
haven't even lived there that long. How's that even possible?
It came from the old place. We moved it over.
Maybe that should be the next podcast. It's like sniff this.
Oh yeah, just open all the stuff from our freezer.
Just heat it up, and it's a blindfolded taste test.
Yeah, instead of having a tasting segment, just bring in
Bring our
the mystery.
unlabeled.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like vegetables you've been saving forever to make stock.
Oh, it's definitely something I've cooked. I don't know. I'll fit. Maybe that'll be this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Text me when you find out what it is.
Yeah, and you text me when you get your whiteboard up on your fridge, okay?
We have the whiteboard.
Oh yeah,
It
I have
just
the whiteboard.
we're using it to keep track of our grocery list.
Gotcha.
That's mostly what it's for. Also, sometimes I use it as a to-do list, like reminder of things that I want. It's bad when you have multiple to-do lists, and this is my downfall because like I have anyway. That's where I keep the long-term to-do list. So I don't forget everything. I don't know.
Also, as a single person, I feel like sometimes I get home, I'm like, oh, I'm feeling tired. Or I'm like feeling lazy. And I remind myself, and I'm like, I could just eat some stuff that I throw into the pan. But then I ask myself, I say, if you were going to cook something for somebody else, what kind of effort would you put into it? And then I'm like, okay, self, I love myself. I'm going to put that effort into it. And it does help too to try to pre-plan and like write down what you're going to make each day of the week. Because then when you get home, you're like, what was I going to do again? And you're like, oh yeah. I'm just going to make the pasta or whatever. And then having that kind of mindset helps me put the kind of intention to eating. Like, oh yeah, if I was going to make it, I would just throw it into the pan and then throw it in my bowl, and it would look probably not that great and might probably taste okay. But if Shannon was there, I'm like, gonna do some kind of presentation. It's like
always
a little
beautiful.
finishing vinegar, a little cheese on top. Try to make it look a little nicer.
You're an excellent host.
Oh,
You are.
yeah,
You're a very
thanks.
good host.
And you're fun to cook with. You're still my favorite person to cook with.
I mean, like Shannon and I know each other's butt sizes in the kitchen, and we never bump. Like it's like we're aware of everybody's movements,
Yeah.
and I can anticipate what she's gonna do.
It's kind of
next.
weird.
That's so nice. I love that. I love it when you have that. That's very restaurant kitchen experience.
Totally.
Where you just develop this body awareness where you know where everyone is because you really don't want to bump into
Oh yeah, I
anyone.
worked in restaurants for a long time, so yes, Shannon and I also lived together for a long time. Yeah. So.
So each week we choose a topic to tackle based on caller suggestions. And this week we're going to talk about easy salmon recipes. Can you play the hotline clip?
Hi, my name is Kai. I have a message for the Joy of Cooking podcast. Do you have any salmon recipes that are really easy to make? Thank you.
That's such a good question.
We should start with like the absolute easiest, and I think that is just a salmon chowder. So it's you don't have to pull out a thermometer. The recipe that we have in the book is great. It's got leeks, some stock, then you just simmer some potatoes for a little while, and then you finish it off with cream, and then add the salmon, and you're really just like prod it with your wooden spoon, and when it starts to flake apart, that's when it's done. So I feel like that is bar none like the easiest.
Yeah, salmon chowder, delicious.
And also, it's a one-pot meal. So
Could you do it with coconut cream?
sure.
I don't see why not. Yeah.
We make Kay Chun's recipe from the New York Times, the coconut miso salmon curry. That's like one of our favorite go-to weeknight meals. It's delicious. And also, same thing. You just cut up the salmon, throw it in a pot. Got yourself dinner.
Yeah. I love a salmon curry. We'll do just like a green Thai curry with salmon. But no, I think the easiest way is to just slow roast it.
Samin Nosrat's
Yeah.
slow roasted salmon is my go-to. It's always perfect. And you get to like pick an herb. So you just lay salmon on an herb of your choice, or fig leaves, which is my favorite. And then you just stick it in the oven. I think it's at 250. I think it's really low.
That's really low.
For 40, I think 47 minutes is usually how long it takes for 2 portions to cook. It's perfect every single time.
Yeah, it cooks really evenly too, because fillets vary in thickness, and so it's in order to get it all to kind of cook to a nice done but still moist and flaky texture. It's good to have a low oven temperature. I think we added a slow roasted salmon recipe in 1997, and it's like at 325, and so you're cutting down the cooking time by quite a bit. And, it might not be quite as evenly cooked, but it's like a good 15, max 30 minutes, like in the oven. So,
And it's such a nice method because you don't have to worry as much about overcooking, which I feel like is so when you're cooking salmon in a skillet on the stovetop, it's delicious, but you go from raw to overcooked in like 30 seconds, whereas the oven, it's so much more forgiving and you don't have to worry as much about that.
I've given up cooking salmon on the stovetop, honestly. I always
I mean,
overcook
it's and it makes your house smell, and it's splattery, so it's it's delicious, but it's a little bit of a pain.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my other single girl thing. If I'm going to cook fish, I'll cook like 3 or 4 of them at once and then put them in the fridge. And then weeknights, they're already cooked, and you just put all your veggies in the pan. When they're almost done, you could slap the salmon on top when it's already pre-cooked and just let it warm and let the fat drizzle down over the vegetables.
That's such a good tip.
And then you don't have to worry about overcooking in the pan because it's like almost done.
Yeah.
so you're vacuum sealing after you cook.
Not for that. Like if I'm going to cook salmon, I'm going to eat it within 2 days,
Okay.
2-3 days max. Okay, I have a question for you guys then, along with Kai's salmon question. I usually will individually foil wrap each piece of salmon and like put a little bit of crushed garlic and lemon and olive oil and salt and pepper in there to try to keep all the moisture in. Lately, I've been using parchment paper. What's
It's a thing.
well, I don't know. I feel like I'm being more sustainable by using parchment paper because then you just throw the foil away versus like throwing the paper away.
Yeah.
Like, what's your experience with that? What works better?
I mean, what works better? I think that I feel like they
I feel like they would be
like
comparable.
about the same.
Yeah.
You might get a little bit more evaporation with the parchment paper, whatever, steam leaking out.
Yeah. But I feel like parchment would be just as good, and that's like the classic French, the fish
Yeah,
en
you're
papillotes.
being-
Obviously, it's because I'm French.
You're being extra classy. if you
Yeah,
use parchment
exactly.
paper, and really,
you
that's all that
shape
matters.
sometimes you'll see like cookbooks with the they'll have the fish en papillote recipe, and they'll shape the parchment paper into a little heart shape or like a half heart shape. Do you shape it all special when you
I shape mine like a broken heart to represent my internal core. I'm kidding.
Oh,
I'm kidding. No, I haven't seen that, but now I feel like I've been inferiorly wrapping my salmon.
I mean,
That's maybe one of the benefits of being single is that no one is there to see when you do. Yeah.
can't believe you wrap your salmon like that.
I just wrap mine like a Tootsie Roll.
I love that. Classic shape. I was also thinking about poke.
Oh, yeah.
Because salmon poke is so easy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Kai likes raw fish, but it's just delicious and easy to make.
That is the easiest.
Yeah, because you don't have to cook it at all.
Yeah,
you just
and
cut
it
it
would
up.
be great with that sesame oil.
Yeah, it would be amazing with that sesame oil.
Oh, it really would.
Yeah.
And that cabbage.
Also, broiling salmon fillets and miso zuke style, with like it's a mixture of miso and sake and mirin. You just spread that over the top and line up. You want to line your sheet pan with foil before you do it, but you just put the fillets on there and then broil it really close to the heating element. That works really good.
What about what do you call those, like the creme brulee thing that the flamethrower?
Oh yeah, the torch.
Yeah. Maybe we should be recommending like a flamethrower for Kai.
We do have a torch that we use.
It's a blowtorch?
Yeah, a blowtorch.
Yeah, a little blowtorch.
Yeah, we use it regularly.
I know that he would love to play around with that.
Oh yeah, when kids are starting to cook, that's what you want.
Yeah, you want a blowtorch.
I gave my college friend one of those. Her like last year of school, she was like, "Oh my god, I don't want to graduate because I'm going to have to do real world stuff." So we were living together at the time, and she had like one class, and she spent the rest of her day watching the cooking channel, and she became really obsessed with making creme brulee, and that's what I got her for graduation was one of those little handheld blowtorches.
I looked at some of the older editions, and Irma,
Well, this is a Midwestern cook.
yeah, she was landlocked. Let's
In
just
the
put it that way.
Not a lot of salmon
Yeah.
out there.
Not a lot of salmon.
A lot of canned salmon.
Smoked salmon.
Like this in the first edition, like it was just canned salmon, and there was a cheesy salmon loaf that I don't think we're gonna try that. So yeah, after the peak canned salmon in 1951, the next edition is the one that Marion oversaw. She was the one who did that revision, and that's like the first time that you actually have some like kind of, I guess you could call them modern approaches to salmon, where it's like, okay, there's salmon steaks, broil the salmon steaks. In the 1997 edition, we added a bunch. We added gravlax, a spinach fettuccine with smoked salmon and asparagus.
That's so 90s.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It totally
I mean,
is.
it's delicious.
Sounds awesome.
And this really fancy cabbage roll recipe that, instead of the usual like kasha filling, it's wild rice and salmon.
My mom totally made that as a kid, and I hated it then, but I would love it now.
It's empapillote, but with cabbage.
With a cabbage leaf. Yeah, totally. If you have a topic, ingredient, or joy story to share, call our hotline at 503-395-8858. Leave us a message or send us a text. We would love to hear from you. And next week's topic comes from our caller.
Hey, my name is Carly, and I'm leaving a message for the Joy of Cooking podcast. And I was wondering if you had any favorite vegan recipes, bonus points for any that are kid-friendly. And yeah, that's my question. Look forward to hearing.
Awesome. Thanks for calling, Carly, and we will talk about kid-friendly vegan recipes on the next episode. This week, there's this bakery in Asheville. Well, I think they're located in like Mars Hill, which is near Asheville, North Carolina, called Farm and Sparrow. And they make amazing like sourdough bread. But the owner of the bakery also just mills grains. Like he has a mill and mills the grains, and you can buy the grains online. And so I ordered a bunch because, Asheville just had all of that really terrible flooding from Helene. And so a lot of his like restaurant clients aren't buying bread right now, but he's selling grains on his website and also selling field peas, which I was really excited to see because you just don't ever see. They're kind of like black-eyed peas.
Oh, I was going to, I've not heard of them.
But field peas, or my grandparents used to call them Crowder peas. I think because when you grow them, they're in like, you'll have a pod that's really long and there will be like 10 to 20 peas in the pod. So they're like crowded in.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, it's cute. But I'm going to cook some field peas this week because I just haven't had any. I don't think I've had them in years. I've never had them anywhere but my grandparents' house.
I've never even heard of them, but
Yeah,
I
delicious.
want to try them. We were talking about delicata squash earlier. I also have 2 of them at home right now, so I'm excited to cook those up. Probably like what you said, I'm going to just roast them for next month or so, and then I'll get sick of that and make soups and do other stuff. I think I'm getting excited about Thanksgiving, so I might start thinking. We're hosting Thanksgiving this year for my sister and brother-in-law and 2 nephews and a certain guest who's on the podcast right now. So I'm really excited to start thinking through our Thanksgiving menu.
Yeah.
And the new house that we bought recently. I think it's just going to be really fun. So trying to look ahead and be excited about things this week.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I just pulled all the rest of my carrots like yesterday. So I have a big bag of carrots in the fridge. And a couple weeks ago, I made your guys' glazed carrot recipe, which is fantastic.
She texted me pictures of them and was just like, these are incredible.
Like, I've hated cooked carrots my entire life until last Thanksgiving. My cousin's girlfriend made some carrots, and I was like, okay. And like that's one of the things I look to the Joy for is like really simple things where it's like not that many ingredients, but it's just the technique and the amount of things that go into it that make it delicious. So I'm probably going to cook those carrots midweek, and I still have a boatload of fresh parsley in the garden. So
I feel like those carrots might make a little Thanksgiving menu.
I know. That's
item.
probably what I'm going to bring.
Heck yeah.
Also my stuffing, because I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah, your stuffing's great.
Ooh, I just remembered we're getting like a celery root in the CSA. So yeah, we were definitely talking about roasting a chicken with the celery root underneath.
Yeah.
Oh, is that how you guys are going to use it?
Best.
It
Yeah.
really is.
I've
the
not done that
best.
before.
So good.
Yeah, put it under the
schmaltzy
chicken.
celery root is fantastic. Maybe put some onions in there.
Okay.
Some big wedges.
Because we get chickens from our CSA. You have the same one, and so maybe we'll just do a chicken with that.
Yeah, I'm going to eat my chicken this week too.
So exciting.
I almost forgot about it.
You have a whole chicken.
I shredded it.
Thanks for listening to the Joy of Cooking podcast. Before we go, show some love for your favorite podcast by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. Follow us on Instagram at The Joy of Cooking. Stay tuned for next week, where we will tackle kid-friendly vegan recipes. Call in with questions, hopes, history, or where you find joy in the kitchen. Our number is 503-395-8858. That's 503-395-8858.
And we could not do this without our fantastic team at the Joy of Creation Production House. Thank you to Kayleen Veach, our production coordinator, Haley Bowers, our audio engineer, and Sarah Marshall, our producer.